going to show you is actually a composite of using text and a favorite tool of mine called the Magic Extractor. Now, the Magic Extractor, if you've ever seen a Bling It, is the software. It takes the image that you may have if you're doing an eBay photo and isolates it against an all-white background or a colorful background. I'm going to show you how you can do that in Photoshop Elements as well, because you may want to, someday take, maybe I want to take Janelle and Marlene out of this and put them in Hawaii, because I'm thinking warm these days. And, I could do that with the Magic Extractor. I want to mention, though, before we get to the Magic Extractor, that it does have its limitations. For instance, I probably couldn't extract very much out of this picture because there is so much going on. It would be very hard if I just wanted to grab this tree. The Photoshop Elements would have a bit of a tough go with that. This here picture of the group, I might be able to, grab them because there is good contrast between them, the people, and there's solid lines between them and the background. So I would probably be able to do a Magic Extractor with that. But if we have a flat photo where there's not a lot of depth or detail, or the exposure isn't really super great, you're going to have a little bit more work with the Magic Extractor. Having said that, let me show you how much fun it is to do a Magic Extractor. So I'm going to bring this picture up here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extract this picture from the background. So, it's an okay picture, and in fact, I wouldn't be ashamed to use it on eBay. Maybe just crop this little piece out here, and I could put it up on eBay. However, what I want to do maybe is to put a little text next to this stein, and maybe I sell these for in my eBay store. I sell a lot of them, and maybe I want to make a category out of it or brag about them. So I'm going to use the Magic Extractor, and we can find that under Image, and we see we've got the Magic Extractor. I just click on that, and whatever picture is up, it will bring us into the Magic Extractor. So we've got some tools along here. This one is naturally chosen. That means that's the stuff I want to keep in, the stuff I want to take out, and here's some further refining tools as we go along. We also have a brush size, and that indicates this. You'll notice I'm going to click here at the very top and come down. And you see that red line? I'm telling Photoshop that's what I want to keep. But you see the width right there of the line. That is the brush size, excuse me. So maybe, for this, I want to bring my brush size up. So I can use the slider a little bit like that. You see I've got a thicker brush. Now, you don't have to highlight everything. I just need to give Photoshop an idea of the areas that we want to keep. So I like to, start off with pretty good swatch, excuse me. I think I can get that there. I'm going to bring my brush size down a little bit because I want to tell it that I want this part of the handle as well. And I'm just going to, I'm just holding down my mouse and drawing along here. Now, let's see what Photoshop Elements brings up. And every time I do this, when I practice, to tell you it brought me up a different thing because it varies on where you put your brush on. But usually you get to the same finish line. So what I'm going to do here is preview to see what Photoshop Elements will keep and what it will throw away. Well, it did a pretty good job, didn't it? Again, like Danny said, this is the transparent part with the checkerboards. And notice I've got a checkerboard right there in the middle. Well, this happens fairly frequently with these pictures because it's what Photoshop Elements is doing is just reading values. And if this was all I needed to do, I could just click on the fill holes, and then it would fill in that hole for me. But the one thing I want you to notice is that it did a really good job, except for we've got some of the background between this handle here. So I want to do a little bit further refinement. So I change my brush from the I want to keep this brush to the I want that to go away brush. And click on it. And now you'll notice that my brush, as I start down here, is blue and not red. Now I'm going to be very careful, so I'm going to make my brush size even smaller so I don't accidentally get into that stein. And I'm just going to draw another little line down here. It doesn't have to completely go down all the way. And now let's click on Preview. See what happens. All right, so we got rid of pretty much everything, but it keeps bringing back this piece here. So I'm just going to bring my brush over here and say, get rid of that too. Click on Preview. Yeah, it's gotten rid of, it's giving me a hard time this time with this. It usually just takes it right out. So let's click Preview. Now it's all gone. Now I've got isolated from its background. I just click on OK, and now I've got my deer stein. But I want to put some text on it as well. You remember? When we first started this class an hour ago, I showed you how to make a new canvas. We went to the File and New, and down here in my tray, I wasn't ready to use it, but it did set it down here in my tray. So what I do now is I'm just going to go click there to say this is the canvas I want to work with. And now I'm going to grab my stein and pull it up here. And look what happened. You know, Danny was talking about layers. It set this up on top of this layer. So now I've got this stein on a white layer. So if I grab this, you know, I'm not exactly happy about where I put it because it always puts it right in the middle. So I'm going to my Move tool, and when I clicked on my Move tool, you notice that I have, now we have those lines around it. So I probably want to make it a little bit smaller, and if I'm happy with that, I can just click the check to commit to changes. And I want to move it over here. I also maybe I want to make this a little jaunty, so I'm going to go down to the bottom here, and you see how as I hover over, it turns into a circle. Now maybe I'm going to tip this stein over just a tad bit. And now maybe make it just a little bit bigger by pulling it out and clicking OK. So now I've got this stein here, and I've got all this space. So I'm going to type in something here. I think, let's say that we want to advertise free shipping, because I know that's on everybody's mind lately. So again, if I want to change the different styles, I can just come up here and pick any style that is available. So let's do Gothic Heavy, Franklin Gothic Heavy. This is the regular versus italic. I just want regular. And this is how big the font size is going to be. I'm going to make it 72 all the way up there. And again, now remember, when we start typing our text, it is going to use whatever color is right here in the foreground. So if I'm comfortable with that foreground color, that's great. If I want to change it, though, maybe I want a darker color, I can either double click on this, or I can, here's a shortcut here, and I can just come and pick a color. And then come back to my text tool, and remember, we've got a layer here, and pick Free Shipping. Trying to type and hold the phone. And that's great. Maybe I want to move it and center it a little bit. So I'm going to just click and drag and drop, and now it's centered. And I have my artwork and effects up. So I have all these different ways that I can spruce up this text. Let's try embossing and see what happens. So I can either double click real fast and it'll apply the effect, or I can single click on the emboss and click on apply. And when I do, whoa, I kind of like that. That really makes it stand out. it changed it from blue, but boy, I kind of like that. So, I might keep that. But, remember last week I said I really, really like, I like drop shadows. In fact, I put my drop shadow in my favorite. So I'm going to come over here and just, grab a little drop shadow and click on it once and click apply. Or I can double click on it to apply, or I can even drag and drop it to apply it. But I'm going to click once and apply. And now I've got a very light drop shadow. So here I've got this great new placard announcing that there's free shipping on these steins and maybe capturing some attention. As I finish up, what I would do is go to Save. Now, I would probably want to save it as what is called a PSD, or a Photoshop file. So in this case, I would just save. That means that it will save all of these layers. Let's say in a week or so I decide I don't want to give free shipping, but maybe buy two, get the third one free. I want to change this text. I can come in and just change this one layer. But if you're going to, post this, so after you do your first save and you save that file, you're going to come back then later, and save as, and then you're going to save it as a JPEG, because that is, what eBay and most all internet service companies are going to require that file as. And it'll flatten it all down, and it'll still look really good for you, but you'll also have the original that you can work on later, as well as this copy. So that's some real quick, simple tools, or ways that you can use the text tool and the Magic Extractor. And that was my demo for the day. Do we have, Danny, do you want to add anything here? Or do we have some questions?
Cindy, could you go over again how you got the white layer, the first step that you did when you saved that on the tray there?
Sure. So what I do is I go up to File, and I go up to New, and see it's asking me if I want to create a new blank file.
Okay.
I just click on Blank File, and then it sort of defaults to this 3,500 width by 2,300. Well, for eBay, or for email even, I would usually set mine at about 800 pixels by 600 pixels. And then I just click OK. And now I've got this new white background set up and ready to go. Now, if I wanted it to be another color, let's say, I've got my foreground color picker here, but it's blue. I could just say, oh, okay, I want that blue color instead of white. I can just grab my paint bucket and click on the paint bucket and click on here, and now I've changed that color from white to blue.
Okay, thanks.
A bonus step for you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Danny, do you have any last?
I just want to go over the Lasso tool one last time because it's a very useful tool, and we didn't have that much time to look at it last week. So let's look at the Lasso tool because I know it's really important to a lot of people who use Photoshop to get their pictures ready for online sale, to have a clear feeling for all of these selection tools. The Magic Extractor is one of the very best things for getting that all-white background. But you may also want to know how to use the Lasso tool or the magic wand to make some special selections. So let's look at this picture of a flower, and I'm going to change it to a layer instead of the background. And then I'm going to click on my Lasso tool. And remember, because it has this little triangle, that means there's several different Lasso tools involved, hidden behind this one icon. And you can see them up here on the selection bar again. The first is a magic lasso, the magnetic lasso, and the polygonal lasso. And this is a new selection, add to selection, subtract from selection, and intersect. You're only selecting things where your new selections cross each other. So if I were trying to select this flower just using the lasso tool, I would need incredibly steady hands going along here trying to outline it, and I would never get it. You can see I've hardly done anything, and I haven't been able to do it. A lot of people use pens and Wacom tablets and things with Photoshop to make this a little easier than it is with a mouse. But even then, it's really hard. However, we have this yellow flower against a fairly dark background, so the magic lasso is going to have edges to work with. If you click on the flower and just start tracing with your mouse, Photoshop is going to try and find the areas, the edges for you. When you get to a place where you want to change directions, left click once with your mouse to enter a point, and then just change directions. And you see it's almost like you're going along with string, and Photoshop is just laying it down along the edges for you. How is it doing it? You're using the mouse? Yeah, you're using the mouse. I'm using the mouse to do this, but I'm not clicking. Photoshop is laying down the points for me. So we're going along. We're just using the magnetic lasso, and it's outlining this flower very exactly in a way that I'd never be able to do if I were working with it freehand. Now I'm going to double click here, and it's going to close it by going back to the entry point. So we've got some problems in what it's selecting. I don't want to spend, another 45 minutes tracing this flower for you. But you can see how exact you can be with the magic lasso. The other thing you can use to select is the magic wand tool. We're going to select here in the dark, and again, new selection. The tolerance is how close to the value I click on things have to be. Contiguous means the areas are touching. If I take that out, if this color appears over here, it'll select that as well. And sample all layers is important if you've got several layers and you want to get it all the way to the bottom. So we just click the magic wand tool, and it's got quite a lot here. We want to add to selection. So you can see we're doing pretty good, but what I want you to see is how you can combine these tools. We've gotten decent but not perfect along here. Let's go back to our lasso tool. Say add to selection. You want to make sure you come off new to add to selection. And just a real rough, it doesn't have to be close at all. And we're taking these areas that it didn't get, and we're just saying, yeah, add those. And without being very careful at all, I'm able to fill in the areas that the magic magic wand missed. And then I can take my magnetic lasso and just come in and fill in some areas as well. So yeah, I had subtract on. So be careful what you have as your selector. I subtracted instead of adding, which isn't very bright. So I just wanted to go over that one more time so you could see it. And you see we have with the magnetic lasso, we have the option of the edge contrast. So we can make that higher or lower as well to make it a little easier. And we also have a pen option here if you happen to have a tablet that you're working with, although that's pretty specialized stuff and not many people have them. So those are the selection tools that you'll use probably most often. The Magic Extractor, which is almost miraculous in how good it is, the Lasso tool, and the Magic Wand tool. Those three things will make it possible for you to get those all white backgrounds for your eBay and your Amazon photos without you having any of the problems or expense that you used to have in getting retouched photos. So I'm going to turn this back over to Cindy again. I think she probably has a few announcements. And if you have any last-minute questions, you can ask her. And that will be the end of today's lesson. So, Cindy, take it away.
Okay. Again, I want to remind everybody that we will get this video up and as soon as possible this week. Meanwhile, you can review last week's on the site elements.cindychevely.com. You also have the shortcut keys. If you look in the free ebook section, you can find those different shortcut keys I talked about earlier, so that you can use your keyboard instead of your mousing if you prefer. And we will see you again next week for the final class on Photoshop Elements. We will send you out an invitation beforehand, and hopefully we'll have the ability to just listen with your speakers through your internet access next week. Again, we're not sure why that happened, and we are trying to get to go to a meeting and find out what's up. So unless you have questions, and you are more than welcome to ask them, we'll call it a day. Any questions?
Today.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. All right. Okay, so we'll see you next week, same time.